I think goals are bullshit. I don't have goals. I think people, you can have all kinds of goals. My goal is to make $800 billion by next Tuesday. It's not going to happen.
Is everybody cut out to be an entrepreneur in your world? I see
No.
that people just aren't. They're just, some of them are not wired to be entrepreneurial.
We're working towards strategy that we're executing that's based on an objective that we've clearly defined. That's how you win.
When you look into the future of what you've kind of got going on, you're still a young man. Do you set goals and create vision for 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, or are you just kind of doing what you do? And I don't want to say reading and reacting. You have some kind of a vision that you're playing off of. You're surrounding yourself with a team. Give me a little bit of insights into how you look into the future.
Yeah, I think goals are bullshit. I don't have goals. I think people, you can have all kinds of goals. My goal is to make $800 billion by next Tuesday. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We believe in systems. We
Mhm.
build systems to get us towards our targets. And I usually break it down into a three-part strategy. For
Mhm.
people who take my course already know this. It's objectives, strategy, tactics. Objectives, what is it that we want to achieve? Clearly defined it. What are the strategies we're going to use to reach that objective? And then that breaks down into tactics. What are the tactics that we're going to deploy to execute on that strategy? So it's a three-part plan, and we do that every step of the way. So rather than saying, man, I want to make $8 billion by Tuesday, and you go, all right, dude, how are you going to do that? Oh, well, what are you going to do? Buy a lottery ticket? Don't work that way. What we're going to do is say, okay, this is our target, is to get from 1 million in revenue to 10 million in revenue, or from 0 to 1 million in revenue. And the way we're going to do it is we've tested out 3 types of social media marketing. We've got the Amazon store set up. We've tested 3 products. We've gotten to this much in sales. And we know if we try this, this, and this, that there's a chance we can increase it by 20% week after week. If we continue to do that, we will reach $1 million by the end of the whatever, the period, the quarter, whatever. So we're going to execute that. And then if that goes wrong or changes, here's our backup plans. And then you go, go, go. There's no goal.
Mhm.
We're working towards a strategy that we're executing that's based on an objective that we've clearly defined. That's how you win.
Beautiful. Well, and again, it's not, I'm just curious as to, given who you are and what you've achieved, what is the kind of thought process behind it all? That's why I get into that kind of question to unpack it. It leads me to a question around, you know, you are who you are. You've been that entrepreneurial spirit. You are driven for all the reasons that you've been driven. When you look at all the people that you've worked with over the years and in your own coaching, is everybody cut out to be an entrepreneur in your world? I see
No.
that people just aren't. They're just, some of them are not wired to be entrepreneurial. Is that your
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah. My one of my biggest mentors always told me you need people to drive the buses. You need people to captain the trains and the boats. And those people aren't going to be entrepreneurs. And that's okay. Not everybody
Mhm.
has to be an entrepreneur. And there's lots of amazing life paths where you can contribute to the world and live a really good life without being an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
it goes back to what I tell people all the time. The most important thing, know yourself, know what you're made up of. What's the fabric of who you are? Are you the kind of person that's aspirational? Are you the kind of person that's okay with managing risk? Are you the kind of person that's willing to fail 1,000 times before you succeed? Or are you okay living mid-level life, taking a paycheck, working for someone else, and being relatively low stress? There's
Mhm.
no right or wrong answers to how to live life, and I'm hardly qualified to tell anybody how to live life. I can tell
Mhm.
you the way I've lived my life is the path of the entrepreneur, the
Mhm.
path of achievement, the path of getting out there and building excellence and helping other people achieve that same excellence. But
Mhm.
it's not right for everybody. And perhaps you're right, Patrick. Perhaps the first step, I think, for everybody listening to this is to really have a come to Jesus moment, have a sit down and go, you know what? Like, am I an entrepreneur? Very good question to ask. I'm sure most people don't ask because it's not the easiest path.
So you said something in an earlier statement that you made that I just so align with. As a matter of fact, I'm really kind of in the middle of unpacking it in our Mindset Matters portion of the Everyday Millionaire podcast. And that my wife Stephanie and I talk about, and we just released another episode, and that is around habits versus discipline. And there's a lot of, to me, noise out there that say you have to develop habits. And I'm not making any of that wrong, but what I'm discovering in my own journey as I reinvent myself at 65 years old is I'm not reinvent myself. I'm just into a phase of life where I'm doing things differently and looking at life a little bit differently and what I want to do and what Stephanie and I want to do. But the point is that my observation is, number one, a lot of self-reflection, really looking at who I am, who do I see myself at 70, for example, is one of my things right now. But do I have the discipline? Do I have the discipline to follow through on my commitments to achieve that outcome? And I'm not talking about goals because it's not that specific. But you use the word discipline, which is really not a common word in many podcasts that I've had with guests. And that's why I shine a light on it. So, do you have an actual thought process around that term of discipline? You need to be disciplined as opposed to create a bunch of habits.
Yeah, I think you got to be disciplined, but you got to have periods of discipline and periods of malleability, periods where you're okay letting your hair down a little bit and understanding that the experience is about that. But in general, as somebody who is aspirational, somebody who is self-reflective, it all comes back to keeping yourself in check, staying humble, but at the same time, keeping a discipline where you're seeking discomfort. And that discomfort is so important. You know, you go on vacation, people do this all the time. By day 2, they're freaking exhausted from laying on the beach because they're bored. Right? We go on vacation, we work out, we go on adventures. Well, by the time we come back to the hotel, that dinner's the greatest thing in front of us, even if it's not that great of a meal. It's amazing because
100%.
we've earned it.
Yeah.
And I think life, the appreciation of life, comes from doing difficult things and winning in the end. And most things that are worthwhile come through this discipline. It's the most important thing I feel that makes up my character. Being able to defer gratification, being able to be okay being cold, be okay being hot, be okay being wherever you are, because that brings calm and the closest you will ever get to certainty in an uncertain world.